Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 165. I'm your host, Klaus Nightbringer, and joining me is Seyrr. What's going on, buddy?
I did so much crafting and gathering, and it was great. Why did I wait so long to do this?
Because we always wait when we do stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I was also just a little overwhelmed about figuring out the changes and whatnot, but it turned out to be fine.
There are a lot of changes, I will say that, but, it's not so bad. I'm still not fully leveled up on all of my crafters. My gatherers, of course, because I had to get my retainers up to 90, Speaking of which, if you guys have not noticed in 6.1, there is now a level 90 retainer venture that you can send them on. So make sure you're changing that up if you're just used to resending them out on the highest level you had before. Little PSA for everybody.
I've just been doing quick ventures the entire time.
Oh, I just send them out on the 18-hour ventures and come back once a day and take care of it. That's kind of my daily.
Reasonable.
But how have you been since the last episode, sir?
Not too bad. The crafting and gathering. A couple of my friends scored a large house in Ishgard, and yeah, very excited. Was talking about all the stuff you get, like getting them fish for like the various fish prints, or paintings, or aquarium stocking, or other things like that. And then they decided that they wanted cafe walls for their house. And it turned out to be one of the largest scale crafting things I've done in a while, and is why all of my crafters are have gone from 80 to 85 in the course of about 72 hours.
Because it's one of the new higher ranked company crafting things that you can do from 6.0.
For those of you who have been looking at company crafting, which given that more people have access to houses and the like, it is something where you do need to be a minimum level of crafter to turn in related items for those crafts. So you can't just go in there with like a level 1 crafter and just dump in all the goods.
Correct. I mean, it makes sure that the people who are participating are actually participating. So you still can't completely cheese it out, but it does make it a little bit easier. You still don't have to have a party of 4 at least, which is nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that, filling out the fish log, beating up people with the scythe, because it turns out that the new PvP is actually super engaging.
It is.
And we're going to discuss a lot of this in more detail later on, but
yeah,
that was... I never expected that the thing that made me be like, oh my god, it's 2 a.m.? What have I been doing? Would be PvP.
Yeah, for you, it would be fishing, I would thought.
It was fishing at least twice this week, yes. But PvP got into the mix, which was unexpected.
But yes, must get minions. Speaking of minions, I actually got a new minion from my ventures, the little greener gleaner. It is very cute. I've actually gotten 2 of them somehow. I don't know, but yeah, I'll take them. Gotta have all the minions, like Aurori said.
That is weirdly ugly cute. I adore it.
Exactly. It's a lot of the minions are that way. You just kind of deal with it. So
yeah.
Aside from that and working too much, I have been in game a little bit. I've been doing a little bit of Crystalline Conflict, and yes, it is a lot of fun. Short matches. The queue times are absolutely popping right now. There are a lot of balance issues to deal with, I think, because there are certain classes that seem to be a little bit more OP than others, at least in the right hands, or should I say the wrong hands if it's against me. But the
fact that it's restricted to one person of each job at most, I feel like it's a little bit of a balancing factor in that if one job turns out to be really strong, then those people are going to end up having to wait a bit longer to get matches as opposed to everyone else.
Yeah, I do wish that they would require a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS or something like that. But
it doesn't seem necessary.
Well, they are quick. The thing with it is, if you've got all DPS and you're doing a lot of damage, but the thing is you have very little survivability at that point. So you're kind of a glass cannon in a lot of cases, at least when you're playing a ranged DPS or a mage.
There are ways around this. There's common actions that are available to everyone. The Recuperate Guard clever use of those has gotten me through a lot.
It's helpful and it's nice to have, but the cast times on some of those and the recast times make it pretty difficult. Though I will say there are quite a bit of healing potions that do get thrown out on the ground at random times.
Recuperate is an instant cast. That's the cure, and you can do that while you're running.
Okay, I was thinking more along the company issued.
The standard issue elixir. Yeah. That is something you use when you have gotten to safety and are hiding.
Yep. But like I said, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I got through 6.1 storyline. Just a note for everybody: we are not going to be discussing that in this episode or the next episode. We're going to wait until 167 before we talk about our spoiler. We're going to do spoiler cast at that point as well. So.
In part because we still got a bit of FF10 to go through, don't we?
We do indeed. And I figured then we'd give us a nice break before we jump into the next game that we jump into at that point. Want to throw out a huge thank you to our Patreon producers, Nick Nar, Aurori, and Tibiant. Let's go ahead and jump into some game and community news. And it is very much filled with Final Fantasy XIV news. Starting with patch 6.1, it is live. And we will have our full spoiler-filled review coming up in episode 167. But for those who might want to see what is going on, I will throw the patch notes link into the chat, as well as the show notes for those of you guys listening out on the podcast. So if you want to go through more in depth what we get in patch 6.1, by all means, go ahead and jump into that. Speaking of housing, when we were talking about it a little bit earlier, apparently there is a huge bug in the lottery system. And patch 6.11, which is coming out on Tuesday, is going to actually pause the sale of houses in Final Fantasy XIV.
This was another one where they again, Yoshi P went into depth about not just, okay, like this is the thing, but talked a little bit about the underlying systems, about why it went wrong. Lots of really fascinating reads in there, especially for anyone who's curious about the architecture that makes a game like this work. As usual, really frank, open discussion of what went wrong, what the issues involved in fixing are, what they plan to do. It's what we've come to expect. And as we've said before, it's something that really makes the game stand out from other ones, just in terms of how open and engaged the development team is with the community. Absolutely. That they give a full technical explanation of what went wrong here.
Yep. For those not familiar with what's going on, patch 6.1 introduced the lottery system when they introduced the Imperium.
Imperium, yeah.
The Ishgard housing district. They brought this new system online to try and make it more fair for free companies and individuals to get or move to a different housing location. And from the story here, with the commencement of the first lottery drawing for plots, players discovered that even if they were the sole entrant in the lottery to purchase a plot, if a 0 was drawn, they would automatically lose the plot to no other entrant.
Yeah, they went a bit into the detail about it, but pretty much it turned out that a 0 was a possible result, even when there was one or more entrants. Mm-hmm. And so you had plots that should have been awarded to someone in the lottery that went to no one.
Yep. And then Yoshida had said yesterday now, the maintenance for patch 6.11 will impose a temporary suspension of plot purchases and relocation for all players, including winners of the recent lottery. The suspension will continue until the fixes and data restoration for the housing lottery system have been successfully implemented. And he encourages players to finalize their winning claims or relocation plans before August 26th, which is this coming Tuesday, when the patch 6.11 maintenance is scheduled to take place and will make moving impossible.
Yeah, from what they've said and what's here, it sounds like if you did win a plot, then that's all well and good. Everything worked properly there. But if you haven't confirmed and completed that, the restoration process will probably disrupt that entire thing, and you would end up losing the claim that you have on that.
But hopefully, with everything going on, they will get a reimbursement of their gil.
For the ones who already have it, maybe that one feels a little more difficult, in part because like they've already won the thing, and so it's like, okay, you just need to claim it here.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe yeah, it's
There's a lot going on. The postings about it from the dev team are really fascinating. I encourage anyone with even the slightest interest in this type of thing to give them a read because they are very accessible.
yeah. It just seems that unfortunately there was a couple of very key pieces that were missing when this went live. So. Oh well, I mean, at least they found it relatively early and are taking action before more players are, negatively impacted by all of this. So, but some positive news that we received this week. There are two old crossover events that are coming back to Final Fantasy XIV. Starting with the Garo event. The Garo event is currently live again for the third time, I think, at this point.
I'm not sure if it's second or third. I know it ran for a very long time, and then there was the notification that it was going to be going away.
It could be just a it might be just the second time, but again, it's back, and they've added a little bit of new gear for the new classes. Just note there are no new weapons for those classes.
Yeah. The very well timed going along with the launch of the new PvP mode. I've seen a lot of people who had been really hoping it would come back, were excited about the news, and have been enjoying the new PvP mode to go with that. So
rumor has
great all
it
around
that maybe even Talus might be coming back because of it. We'll see. We'll see.
I will say there were a couple glamour pieces that I never got around to getting that I am excited to go ahead and nab again.
Yeah, I mean, and if you were just short on getting all of the mounts, this is a good opportunity for you to get back to that as well. Especially if you just need some feast wins, you can use those in Crystalline Conflict now, and those matches are much faster and the queue times are much better.
It's just better all around.
Yep. And as well as being able to buy the gear with wolf marks in the Wolves Den Pier, you can also go back to the Gold Saucer and get non-dyeable versions of the glamour gear that you were interested in with MGP at the Gold Saucer. So for those of you who are not into PvPing but want some of the looks, you can get the original look, with MGP.
I mean, if nothing else, anyone who plays Paladin should get the Heroic Spirit Shield, or I think they did finally add that non-Garo equivalent. I don't know. I got the Garo version ages ago and never looked back.
Yeah, I don't remember if I got one of the versions. I don't remember if I spent MGP on it because it doesn't really matter. And I had like a absolute shit ton of it.
Yes, we know you have all the MGP.
I'm trying to find ways to get rid of it.
You could buy things and throw them away.
That seems wasteful, though.
So you want to waste your MGP, but you don't want to waste it. Make up your mind.
I want to spend it in ways that are fun. Not just throw it on the floor. Maybe like, you are dead to me.
This is why the wealth gap exists. Because of people like you. Because
I want to do something good with what I have. And not just waste it.
No, that's not even what I said. Apologist. First against the wall when the revolution comes. So anyways.
I think I'm going to mute him now. What do you think, folks?
Other crossover events, we've got that Final Fantasy XI the Maiden's Rhapsody back. That would be the one with Iroha and the Phoenix samurai style armor. Fun feature they've added to this one, the New Game Plus type thing of being able to reset and redo the quests. They're adding for this as well. So even for those who have previously completed, or if completed during the course of this, you'll be able to reset that quest progress and experience the story again.
But you will not get the reward again. If you still have the reward, you will not be able to earn it again.
Yeah.
And this is the fourth time this one's coming back.
Let me see. They even noted in the thing, we highly recommend learning more about the seasonal event replay feature. And yes, you cannot obtain rewards by using season. But yeah, it'll be wondering if this is something we're going to start seeing with more of those seasonal events, especially for, like, I remember I completed the FF13 event back in A Realm Reborn, so it was like 5-6 years ago. I wouldn't mind seeing the stories on some of these again.
Longer than that ago.
Ugh, time is weird. What the hell?
I mean, and the 15 event would be nice to come back so more people. Well, that did come back not that long ago though, didn't it?
Yeah, but the glamours are fabulous, so
And the
I'm
car.
always happy. Yeah. I mean, the car is nice and all, but I really like the jacket. The jacket is just so good.
Yeah, and it dies very well as well. Also.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if there's an event that you want to come back, we'd like to hear about that. Send us an email, podcast@phoenixstormradio.com, or you can tweet at PHXDNradio and let us know what events you would like to see return to Final Fantasy XIV, or maybe make an appearance for the first time. Maybe we should get that Neon Genesis Evangelion event.
Oh no, what have I done again?
I mean, we already have the G Warrior. I mean, see that fight against an Eva? Or maybe have like a Pacific Rim style crossover.
I mean, we've got Labyrinthos. You just repurpose all of those displays from being like nature and sunshine to like tactical data.
Or, we have the Ragnarok. We could potentially start space combat. Or it could be our Final Fantasy XIV version of the gummy ships.
I tell you, I have been waiting for when they finish with submersibles and are like, and then we'll go to little mini rocket ships.
Well, it's possible. All right. But this isn't what you guys came here for. Actually, it probably is for the most part. You guys like hearing this shit talk.
Yeah, our unfettered nonsense does seem to be what a lot of people come for.
But I think most people really, really enjoy the music. And it's time for us to jump into Disc 3 of the Final Fantasy X original soundtrack, starting with this banger. Anybody going for Ultima Weapons? This gives you PTSD.
God damn you, Onion Knight. God damn you. This is the music for the Thunder Plains. For those of you who aren't familiar, thunder or lightning strikes regularly here. There's a little mini game where you dodge it, and dodging lightning 200 times in a row is needed. In a row, no misses, is needed to unlock one of the ultimate weapons. A friend of mine actually set up a thing with like a camera that was detecting flashes on the screen and sending infrared controller signals to try to automate the process.
Interesting.
Even then, it took a lot of finagling, but God, it was the worst when you get up to like 120, 130 or so. The lightning strikes are not quite in time with the music, so if you start, you've been hearing this for so long, your brain starts lining up with it. You start pushing the button to that instead of to when you actually see the flash.
And then you miss out and you have to start all over. Fortunately, you didn't have to do it all in one go. You could come back. So if you needed a break, hopefully you were smart and you would stay near either the entrance or the exit to the planes, so you could potentially exit out, or maybe stand by Reen's travel agency there and use that as your safe haven.
Drama from that minigame aside, the actual site was pretty fascinating. A series of planes with constant rain and constant thunder and lightning. Lightning towers constructed by the Albed to allow for safe passage across. And if you were hanging out near those towers, you wouldn't have to deal with the lightning strikes.
Yep. Which was nice, but there were still a lot of spots out there that you could easily get hit.
Mm-hmm.
And the years and years and years of thunder strikes definitely took a toll on the landscape.
Yeah, the place is pretty blasted, bare rock everywhere. It's a little bit of a breather episode. This is after you finished with a lot of the stuff that went down in Guado Salam.
Yeah, this is just outside of Guado Salam, so
yeah.
Might explain why the Guado are a little bit the way they are. I mean, if you're surrounded by this much thunder, you might go a little crazy too.
Yeah. But yeah, you've had some odd happenings there involving the stuff with the Far Plane that we discussed last episode. So again, bit of a breather episode. Riku has some character building moments here, as we find that she is in fact deathly afraid of lightning. I believe she tells a story of having been nearly attacked by a fiend while in the water, and one of her family members casting a lightning spell to drive the monster away and missing with it.
Lightning plus water equals bad, people.
Yeah, it's amazing that she came out of it all right, actually.
I mean, with as much time as they spend underwater, they should know that. They should really know that.
Well, I mean, that means it's also really good on the fiends in the water.
Yeah, they're great if you're not in the water. All right,
But
anyway.
yes, tick-tock, tick-tock.
Next. This is a very fitting theme for Jecht.
It sounds like something out of a Western.
He's kind of a... how do you...
Very rough and tumble, stranger from out of town who comes in to do this thing and save, it's a storyline that would be out of a Western if not for the fact that it's instead the founding, the framing thing for this entire epic fantasy story.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that, except for, yeah, he doesn't come from a backwater area. He's coming from Xanarkand. But
oftentimes, the Drifter, you don't even know where they're coming from. They've just arrived in town from who knows where.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not like he's very tactful. So, I mean, he kind of does fit in that aspect as the rough and tumble, but yeah.
We're also going to see with a lot of other pieces we've seen, when we get into some of the more like guitar type stuff, that often seems to relate to like these otherworldly things. We saw that with Xanarkand itself, with some of the later boss fights that are dealing with that. The much later battle against Seymour, lots of stuff where they're doing that guitar thing is kind of associated with this stuff that's outside of the more like island feel of Spira.
There is definitely a lot of exploration with music types in this particular soundtrack, which it's great to hear. You know, a lot of times you seem to get like it's packaged in a certain genre of music, so it fits a theme, but there's so much going on here that the fact that Uematsu's able to then break out and explore these different styles, it is very nice, and it's moved forward with a lot of the games since. I mean, if you look at Final Fantasy XIV, for example, Soken uses so many different influences when he creates his music, whether it's rock, whether it's classical, whether it's just all over the spectrum, and it's really nice.
I really do love how the clash in styles can be used to kind of stand in for a clash in civilizations or cultures or other things like that.
That's what music does. It puts words in where they don't necessarily fit. Or it speaks when words don't. How's that?
There we go. I was like, that first one sounded a little off. This sounds better.
Yes. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get it right. So let's jump to
what's
the
next on
theme.
the docket?
A very special place. This is the theme to Macalania Woods. It's an area with a very special feeling around it. Very interesting denizens that inhabit the woods, and a very magical feeling.
Yeah. We've talked before for this and other soundtracks about how some of the forests will have a kind of like, this is where the Fae folk are feel to them. And Macalania Woods definitely fits that.
Now this is where they have the butterfly mini game if you're going for other Ultima weapons. So you have to run through the trees and collect certain types of butterflies in order to to unlock certain pieces.
With weird stutters and shifts if you're doing it improperly, that again has that kind of like disorienting feel to it.
It's also the scene of a very, very iconic moment in Final Fantasy X, where Titus and Yuna are sitting in the water. And they have a very special moment at that point.
Yeah. We'll be exploring that a little bit later, but for now it's important to know that this is kind of like this magical place for them. And in general. It doesn't have the threatening aura that a lot of our various types of Phantom Force ones have had before, but there is still that otherworldly alien aspect to it.
I mean, it's just I'm just glad there's no trains with ghosts.
Can only do that so many times, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure we have a few more left that we could, I mean, we've only done it twice now, right?
Something like that.
Well, once in 6, and then they should have brought the suplex action to the Delta Scape fight. That would have been hilarious.
I was disappointed it wasn't there.
I know.
It's true.
Chile really wanted to suplex the train as a monk.
Have it as a duty action or something.
I mean, how hilarious would it be to see a Lalafell suplexing a giant ghost train?
So anyways, Macalania Woods.
Exactly, Macalania. I mean, maybe we could suplex a butterfly? No, that doesn't work.
That's messed up in so many ways.
Isn't this also the location of a boss that's kind of an amorphous ball?
Yeah, the one, lots of elemental stuff going on with that one. God, that one gave me so much trouble.
I wonder if it has to do with this.
That definitely felt like the point of the game where stuff started stepping up.
No, this song is actually called The Void, and it plays when Riku reveals to Waka she's Albed.
There's been glimmerings and suspicions, and Waka seeming to trying to remain purposefully ignorant. Like, all the signs were there, dude.
Yeah. The fact that she would speak Albed, she kind of looks Albed.
The familiarity with machines.
I mean, the fact that she can fix and break and, easily, target and destroy machines very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, Waka was never the brightest bulb in the tree.
So, I mean, at this point in the story, Waka's already been forced to confront a number of uncomfortable ideas. There was an instance in Guadalajara where, or when dealing with Maester Seymour, where he's making comments that seem unbecoming of a Maester. Waka points this out, and Seymour tells him to just pretend he didn't say them. And that kind of guile and subterfuge coming from what he sees as a religious leader.
Sorry, interrupting you real quick. Thank you, Chili, for that resub. And yes, like festival fireworks, yeah? The timing.
There's a scene in Guadalajara where we find a message of a recorded message from Seymour's father indicating that there may have been foul play afoot, and in fact a scene at the far plane where the father appears to be emerging to try to tell them something. So lots of indications that not all is well in the upper echelons of the faith of Yevon. And Waka's been confronted with bits and pieces of this throughout, but this is the one where he's had the first really in-your-face, no, this is something that's going on, this is something you have to deal with, how are you going to handle this?
Yep. And realistically, that's kind of the whole point of these crusade, or these pilgrimages that they have. Is, it's to make sure that, everybody gets the opportunity to see the world as it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not all about just fighting sin. I mean, that's kind of how it's wrapped up, but realistically, it's a learning not only about yourself, but about others.
Yeah. there's a lot that the summoner and their guardians will be learning about the truths behind the pilgrimage, behind a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of uncomfortable revelations. There's a lot of, especially in the case of Waka, stepping outside his kind of sheltered community and learning a bit more about a world that's often a little bit messier.
Indeed. Continuing on in our little voyage. This is called the Temple Player.
A little bit of an odd title. I think I prefer the Japanese title, which is literally Temple Orchestra.
Yes, but this plays as Titus enters Makalania Temple for the first time.
Makalani Temple, suspended over a great icy lake itself, with all sorts of ice motifs and the like.
Gee, I wonder who's here.
It's kind of associated with the Grotto and Grotto Salam, but still a good ways away from their actual city. Mm-hmm. So I suppose that's not the first time. Kilika Temple wasn't right up next to Kilika, after all.
Yeah, the only one that was right there was Besaid. I mean, they literally built the village around the temple. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
And it is interesting to think about if this is something where, okay, there's various religious reasons why they might have it more removed. If there's something where it's like, oh, this was the thing that was the sacred site, even if that wasn't necessarily where the city was.
Or maybe the fact that these temples are filled with beasts and evil things and stuff that you have to fight. Yeah. And
there's not, at least in the Cloisters of Trials, there isn't nearly all that much actual fighting. It's almost entirely focused on the puzzles for the most part. Around the temple, sure, but inside there's usually not much in the way of fiends.
Well, I mean, I would think that, well, there's a few places where I suppose, yeah, leading up to the actual cloister is one thing, but you know, the areas and the temples themselves can be monster infested.
Yeah. And I mean, real life pilgrimages often were faced and beset with danger of stuff on the roads, bandits, wild animals.
Plus, I mean, what kind of game would it be if every temple was in a town?
Yeah. The entire point of the temple is that it's a holy site, and that's not always going to be about what's convenient for where people have decided to set up their homes.
Yes. Now, this is a little bit of an ominous sounding theme. And the title matches that. This is Seymour's Ambition.
Large chunks of this sound like it could absolutely be out of the 80s.
Yeah, it's got a synthwave feel to it.
Yeah. Which again, another one in the theme of stuff that's really out of place with this kind of like island, relaxing, whatever type vibe. But in a way that's different from what we were dealing with our Xanarkand crew.
Yeah. This plays when Seymour reveals his true intentions at Makalania and when the party battles him here. So this is basically when we see Seymour for what he really is, or start to see him for what he is.
Yeah, there had been glimmerings of suspicion that maybe he wasn't the clean-cut religious leader initially thought, but...
Maybe it was that hair?
Oh, so much prejudice.
Well, I mean, the weirder the hair, the more of an evil person you seem to be in Final Fantasy. I mean, am I wrong?
No comment. It's interesting because there's also some bits that kind of like the harp glissandos that you would get in things like the Prelude, but minor keyed.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of really like that. Like, you've got this thing that's, again, calling back to this Final Fantasy mainstay, but done in the minor key ominous.
Yeah, it definitely evokes a very uncomfortable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically what he's trying to do goes against what everybody on the pilgrimage, aside from Titus, is really knows, you know. Titus is going into this thing completely blind, and you gotta love him for that. At least he's kind of rolling with the punches on that. But everybody else already has an idea as to what the whole teachings of Yu Yevon is, and what this religion is entailing. And Seymour is really hellbent on upsetting that balance.
He is saying some batshit insane stuff.
Well, he is a little bit insane. But now we get...
He's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Anyways, we can save the thing of tragic, villainous, yada yada for another time.
Because now we get a new hymn of the faith. And it's no surprise that this is Shiva. I mean, the place is cold.
Yeah, it's a nice temple. Shiva was almost inevitable. This one's a very strong female voice.
Mm-hmm. Still very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And Shiva in Final Fantasy is a very strong female force as well. So, I mean, it's fitting that her version of the Hymn of the Faith matches that.
Yeah, the image of the person, the ghostly image of the person that we eventually will see for Shiva's faith is that of a Yevonite priestess. So probably someone who was like experienced in the faith, was faith with an I, not faith with a Y, who knew the hymn of the faith quite well, singing it in that bright, clear, strong voice. This is someone whose belief is strong, whose life has revolved around this entire thing.
And I really enjoyed all of the different puzzles that you do encounter when you go through the Cloister of Trials in each of the different temples that we encounter. And especially when you look at, being this is an ice temple, a lot of them have to do with, having to fight back the frozen apparatuses that you encounter and get through.
Yeah. One thing that I want to know, because it appeared in the notes and I thought it was a nice touch, is that the events at Macalania, Seymour revealing his true intentions, the party having to fight him, and thus causing the equivalent of a massive international incident, making enemies of the entirety of Guadosalam and the Yevonite faith for that matter. But in their escape, they actually end up falling to the bottom of the lake. So they are like, reminds me of actually the scene in FF13 where like they're in the midst of the bottom of that crystal frozen lake. In this case, they can still hear the hymn of the faith when they're all the way down there, kind of isolated, pursued, and trying to figure out what to do. And having this religious music playing throughout it does added a oddly and beautifully spiritual element to the scene.
And speaking of making enemies of the Guado, this plays as we're escaping from Macalania Temple, as the Guado try and catch Yuna and her guardians.
That's because we killed like a leader of the faith who also was like a cultural representative for them and had all of these hopes pinned on it for their race.
We didn't.
People get so worked up about. I think you actually do it in that fight.
I don't.
Or at the
think
very least,
so. Because Seymour is not gone from the game at this point.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying now. I get at this point.
Yeah.
We defeat Seymour for sure.
But I'm pretty sure it is
dead?
canonically that he's he is dead, but we learned earlier about the concept of unsent. That extremely rare cases where someone, it's not just that they become a fiend, but somehow are like maintaining an almost undead existence through sheer force of will.
And if Seymour can do that, that's pretty scary as to how powerful he actually is.
Yeah.
And how strong he is in his convictions. But this song is aptly named Pursuit.
Yeah. Whatever it is that did happen, we've got the Guado very mad at us, especially given their religious ties. And so...
Making enemies of a religious group in a Final Fantasy game?
I made reference to the Final Fantasy XIII element of it. This, of course, having made first, but you do have the, hey, we have made enemies of this major institution and are now fugitives.
I mean, that seems to be a just the standard, modus operandi for any type of Final Fantasy game, though.
I mean, the big thing with 13 was that it was the entirety of the game and not just one sequence.
True.
Because they were exploring some elements. This is not me talking about 13, because I will go into some of the story analysis of that for extended periods, so let's not do that right now.
We have quite a while until we get to the 13 series, so... Make sure to stick around to tune in for those, but for now, let's go ahead and jump in to the Burning Sands. After we make our way out of the Macalania forest and our...
How the hell did they even end up in Bikanal?
I believe that Sid and brother may have had a hand in that, so if I remember correctly.
Nope, I'm just looking it up. We end up... The short version is get transported there by Sin.
Oh, so we encounter Sin after we get out of there, and then he just kind of bitch slaps us to the desert, huh?
Yep. Yeah, while under Lake Macalania, there ends up being an encounter with Sin, which of course knocks everyone out and end up at Bikanel. So yes, at this point at Desert Island, after this improbable escape and this encounter with Sin.
Is Albed actually off of the main land of Spira?
Yes, Bikanel is a separate island.
Okay. I always thought it was kind of like off to the one side. Because if I remember correctly, the majority of the pilgrimage takes place along kind of one of the coasts of Spira.
Kinda, yeah.
And then kind of cuts up a little bit and then goes straight north into Zanarkand. But there's a whole bunch of stuff off to the west. And for some reason, I thought that the Albed were over on that side, but I think the island is over there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the Albed are persona non grata in the religion of Yevon, what with the whole using forbidden machines and the like. Bikanel would not usually be on the pilgrimage itinerary.
No, but I mean, it could be. I mean, the land of Spira, I think, would be big enough to where they could be. Anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, we do see some maps of it. I believe it is a separate island.
Okay, that's fair. But it's still quite an interesting theme here.
Yeah, it's a desert. It's one where, at least where we're exploring here, it's dominated by like this kind of mystery aspect.
And there's a lot of cactuars.
And
there's a lot of cactuars.
I mean, it's a desert in a Final Fantasy game. You got to get your cactuars in somewhere.
I think this was also a pretty good spot for leveling, if I remember correctly.
Sounds right.
Because cactuars, in general, were a pretty tough enemy to fight in most Final Fantasy games, and usually yielded a decent amount of XP.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and jump to our next theme.
Yeah, there's definitely somehow like the sun beating down on you in that theme.
I think something's going on here. What do you think?
Yeah. We've got that strong percussion. We've got elements that sound a little bit like alarms.
It seems like there's a battle going on. And guess what? Yeah. You're right. This is Peril. It plays during Operation Mi'ihen. and the first battle against Sinspan Gui, before the battle against the Crawler, as well as when the party searches for Yuna throughout the home of the Al Bhed, before the party confronts Sin on the Fahrenheit, and when eluding the Dark Magus Sisters. So there's a lot of stuff where this plays.
Yeah. Generally stuff where one is actively in danger.
That Operation Mihen battle, yeesh, that was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happening there.
In the Bikanel setting, Yuna, being half Al Bhed, has been taken in by the Al Bhed and is at their home, which they call home. Interestingly enough. And which, while Yevon seemed to have been content to let them slide as just, okay, well, the heretics are over there doing what they do, this seems to, their taking in Yuna seems to have spurred Yevon to action and to launch a full-scale assault on the Al Bhed. So we pretty much don't ever actually get to visit home except for a brief period where it is actively on fire.
Lovely. Gives you that whole warm feeling.
Exactly.
But that's the flames, though.
Hospitality demands a warm welcome. But they didn't say how warm.
This is borderline hot, but I think it'll be enough terrible jokes.
We've got a lot of the common elements that we hear for a lot of these like dangerous situations.
It is a banger, though. I do like this song.
It does give that feeling of tension that you want for a scene like this, where stuff seems to have gone from bad to worse. Encountering Sin, washing up on an unfamiliar island, as we're finally getting our bearings, having this attack go off.
All right.
Moments where it quiets down for a moment, only to bring up the tension again.
Yeah.
Does what it's supposed to very well.
As you see, it went right back into that. And it kind of repeats at this point, so. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of a fight scene in Star Trek, the original series.
Oh my gosh, a little bit, yeah. I could see it.
Right? I mean, when Kirk is fighting the reptile guys on that desert planet.
Yeah, it has that kind of vibe to it. You are absolutely right. That's amazing.
No? Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Because you're not going to be able to hear that now.
Nope.
All right, this sounds like it's a more peaceful and serene type of thing, but it kind of is going to become bittersweet here momentarily. This is called The Truth Revealed.
I wouldn't even say, like, it feels a little somber.
Yeah, some of those chords do kind of change it from calm to a more mournful.
Yeah. The melody line, I'm not placing it right now, but it does feel like one we've heard before in a lot of tunes.
It definitely is a. I'm trying to remember it. No, 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 no.
It's not this. It was one of the early ones.
It's Xanarkand.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm having and it's one of the. It is definitely a leitmotif of one of the main themes of this game.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I'm incorrect with my assumption of Xanarkand, but it's.
As the title suggests, this is a piece that plays when stunning truths are revealed. The first one being the one that everyone already knew except for poor Titus.
That a pilgrimage is not just a traveling and learning about your religion and understanding it. It's a goodbye tour.
The pilgrimage is for the summoner to defeat Sin, and defeating Sin comes at the cost of the summoner's life. Poor Titus, who didn't know, has been talking to Yuna about like all the stuff that they'll do when the pilgrimage is over, all the stuff that he wants to show her in Zanarkand, all these other things. She's known the entire time, and she never... Because she didn't want to tell him, and she didn't want her companions to either. That she really appreciated having someone who was treating her as just like an ordinary girl, rather than, okay, you are the person who is the sacrifice for this noble, yada yada yada. Which is really sweet and beautiful, but also poor Titus realizing what this all meant and how everything sounded in retrospect. So I do think it's really beautiful, the idea that like she knew and was okay with it and actually really appreciated this little bit of normalcy in the midst of having to deal with all these heavy thoughts and ideas.
And yes, if I had read on a little bit further, indeed, pieces of Zanarkand are played throughout the song.
Okay.
That's why we have these notes, Sarah. It might help if we actually read them for once. I mean, Zanarkand, which is already an extremely melancholic song. Beautiful, yet haunting, and kind of saddening all at once.
And this is taking the realities of Zanarkand and putting it front and center.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple other points where it plays that also revolve around some of those types of revelations. The encounter with Yuna, and meeting Yuna Leska at the end of the pilgrimage.
Well. Yeah, it's a very striking point in the story, and you see a lot of character growth and change in how people are kind of interacting.
Yep, lots of revelations.
Yes. Continuing on. This is a very epic start.
It sounds a little bit at first like some of the Danger pieces we've heard.
But it starts to build and starts to crescendo, and it rises like an airship. It's called Launch. And this is the theme for the ancient airship Fahrenheit. And Seyrr is out of focus.
Oh, it happens. Yeah, now, way back at the beginning of the game, when the Albed took us in after the initial Sin attack and found us at the temple, and by took us in, I mean, like, captured Titus.
And forced him to do slave labor.
Yeah, we went diving in that ancient ruin and found what was eventually revealed to be the remains of an ancient airship.
You want to try and focus up again here real quick?
Yeah.
You're still
and then
way out. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And then Sin attacked, and that all got thrown to the side. And oh hey, Chekhov's gun has been taken off the wall and fired. Because in the midst of all this, we have the Fahrenheit coming in, like, ancient piece of technology taking to the skies once again.
It's a very
Given
different
the circumstances
sounding...
under which this is...
Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, given the circumstances under which this is all happening, this is not like a happy, yay, let's go cruising the skies kind of thing. This is at a low point where I believe Yuna has been captured by Yevon, is going to be... I believe at this point we have found out that she is has agreed to marry Maester Seymour.
Yep. And at this point, the rest of the Guardians are like, nope, this ain't happening. So this song has a lot of purpose to it. They know what they have to do. and they go.
I mean, what they're doing is going against like the world's religion, so
I mean,
good luck with that.
Again, what Final Fantasy game doesn't have that beautiful bit of plot twist, right?
No, it is absolutely fitting with what we tend to expect from the series.
And
Just not the usual ebullient hooray into the skies that we usually get with airship launch themes.
Yeah. Now our next theme here is called The Wedding. And this is at Yuna and Seymour's wedding. It doesn't seem like a very happy wedding theme, does it?
It's solemn. Like, Yuna has agreed to this as something to kind of unite the disparate people. This is another way that she can give the people hope, is what we've been told.
And she knows that as a summoner, that's basically her job, is to do what she must to basically make the faithful happy,
like
so
to try to bring happiness to the people of Spira.
Yeah.
It does not hurt that Seymour has been applying some amount of leverage over what he will or won't do, depending on if she'll go through with this. He really wants to have this go through as like marrying the daughter of the High Summoner, all sorts of symbolic stuff attached with this. So he's got his own designs on it, the whole thing.
Stand-up guy, right? Just the kind of guy you want to take home to mom. Anyway, not everyone's going to have that.
Yeah.
And the Guardians, Titus, Aron, everybody, they're like, So they plan an assault.
This has some of the elements we've heard with those other ones, but the assault does suggest that more like direct attacking kind of thing. There's an active role to it.
Yep.
The actual scene where this plays involves the airship coming in, beautiful full FMV type thing, launching cables that the entire party grinds along.
as they go in to rescue.
It's a little bit rule of cool, and you know what? That's okay.
Yep. This also plays during the battle with Sin, excluding the head. So
yeah,
it is a very epic battle theme.
Absolutely.
It's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Just like listening to it sometimes.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know that there's a lot more I have to say on it, but I still am enjoying listening to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of picturing, what it was like, the first time I played this, going through Bavel, fighting off the guards and trying to get through this maze-like area that is the high the main church.
Right.
And then trying to, rescue, Yuna before she basically says, I do at that point. And, they're trying to make it, and they're...
Yeah. Like, this is very clearly a desperate gamble of a plan. Huge risk. Likely failure, but also it's something where after everything... They just can't abandon Yuna to this fate. Like, the rest of the party also knows just how questionable Seymour's actions, behaviors, like, we had the entire fight with him. We had all that stuff going on. The fact that he's back...
Yeah, we know that there's something not right here, and we need to stop it. But as we keep fighting through the main church in Bavel... Tragedy. We get up to the altar, only to see Seymour kiss Yuna. Ah!
Gross.
Ew. She's kissing an undead. I bet you can easily have this annulled because I don't think zombies have the right to marry people.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Though nobody but us really knows what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Other than, I think, a number of the faithful know that we fought against Seymour, but they don't probably know that we.
Yeah. They
killed
don't
him.
know all, and they don't know. Well, of course, he's walking around like. The entire idea that a Maester of Yevon could be an unsent is something that would not cross the minds of most of the faithful. But yes, after desperate struggle, risking everything, we do arrive too late, and that's why we have this piece playing, especially as Seymour gloats a bit, clearly giving the orders for the entire party to be executed.
But wait, what's this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's building.
Yeah. Yuna
Come on.
demands some leverage. She doesn't want to see her friends. And as they stare at her agape as she stands on a high ledge, threatening to throw herself off of it to her death if they don't release her friends. The party staring agape at her, and her giving that gentle smile and telling us not to worry.
As she jumps off. But then...
I mean, she's has a very specific thing that she tells us why we shouldn't worry, because she can fly.
Or at least she has a friend who can fly.
Well, yes.
And she summons Valefor and she saves herself and they fly off.
Now, one thing we haven't touched on quite as much in discussing the scene, after the kiss, Yuna pulls out her staff and is preparing to perform the sending rite.
Yes.
Yes, she agreed to the thing, and she said it was for the sake of happiness, but really, she agreed to that wedding for a chance to get close enough to Seymour to send him. The entire thing was a long game on her part. This is one of many reasons that I think that Yuna is one of the single most badass FF main characters in the entire franchise.
You mean it's not just because she sings and dances in 10-2?
Hey, she does it joyfully and without a single bit of... Okay, she feels a little bit awkward about it at a couple points, but still. Live, laugh, love, Yuna. Live, laugh, love.
But yes, that is a good point, the fact that she basically was playing the long game in trying to show people that, hey, Seymour is not what you think he is.
She doesn't even care about necessarily showing them that. She just wanted to send him, and consequences be damned.
But
and taking advantage of the fact that people just thought of her as this sweet demure, oh, I will do what is best and sacrifice this for the people of Spira. And it turns out that that's right. She just genuinely cares about what's right for the people of Spira, not just this appearance of what is right.
Yep.
We'll be revisiting that character trait of hers in an even bigger way later on, but this is just this really dramatic expression of it, that she cares about doing the right thing and the actual right thing, not just this expectation. This is where we first really get the message that she's not just doing this because of the expectations of the High Summoner's daughter.
It's because she's actually a good person.
She believes in it herself 100%.
All right. Moving on.
I will gush about Yuna whenever given a chance.
This is the theme of the Via Purifico. The Japanese title, Path of Cleansing.
Yeah, my recollection is that the party is captured after this, separated, and thrown into the waters of the Via Purifico, given, of course, that this is, like, part of the religious strictures on it are... It's kind of like a witch trial sort of thing, in that you're thrown into this thing that will probably kill you, but if you are truly good and of the faith, then Yevon will guide you and you will make it through this thing and come out all right. And it also says you, like, okay, you don't actually dirty yourself with a formal execution, you just put them into this thing where they're probably going to die from it. Like, there's this entire thing about it. And what it ends up being is a water dungeon.
That we fight our way through, and
Yep. Our party is limited on this one because only some of the characters are actually able to swim well enough to fight while in the water.
which would be Titus, Waka, and Riku.
Yep. There's a couple points where you end up with that fixed party for this reason.
Yep. It helps to be a blitzball player, huh? I mean, it's not like they have the Kojin to give them their blessing, you know, like we do in 14.
Yeah. Having this as just a piano piece, one with, again, a bit of like a somber feel to it.
A little bit of tension on the edges.
Yeah.
But it's still very nice. Which leads us into probably one of the most powerful hymns of the faith.
As part of making it through the Via Purifico, this gets us into the Cloister of Trials for Bavel, which, as long as we're here, Yuna wants to go ahead and continue the pilgrimage, pray to the faith here.
And this faith is Bahamut. The strongest summon with the purest voice. The voice of a child.
We've seen a ghostly young boy throughout several points, and I think this is actually the first point where we actually do get to be in the cloister with Yuna. We're pretty much at a point where all the rules are out the window, so instead of waiting outside, Titus ends up going in as well, and that's where we see the faith, that boy that we've been seeing throughout, who it turns out is the faith for Bahamut. It makes cryptic comments.
Gives me goosebumps still hearing it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you think of the fact that this young boy is the voice of one of the most powerful aeons in Spira.
I mean, there's a lot of religious traditions where the faith of a child is pure, powerful, unmoved by the travails of the material world. It's an idea you'll find in a lot of religions. So the idea that this pure, strong faith of a child will create the most powerful one, it actually seems reasonably in keeping with what we've seen in a lot of other religions.
The vessel is small, but its faith still keeps its cup overflowing. That's basically, I think,
something
how
like
a lot of it's been explained a lot. So
there's a couple Bible quotes that I would totally pull out here if I felt like really going full on Lorberarian on this, but it's an idea that you see in a lot of religions.
Yeah. Our next theme is a moment of truth.
Now, we actually heard this at the start of Operation Mihan.
Yep, but in this case, we're listening to it when Yuna stands before the court of Macers in Bavel, and Master Meka reveals the true conditions.
Yeah. So at this point, after visiting the Cloister of the Faith with Bahamut, oh, and we've got that Hymn of the Faith there.
Yep, a little bit of that in there. But it doesn't finish.
Yeah.
It builds up, but it doesn't actually...
Yeah, this is another piece that comes with dramatic revelations. In this case, Yuna finally breaking the silence and revealing to the council that no, one of their number is an unsent. And Maester Mika seeming to take this in before laughing and revealing that, yes, one of their number is an unsent.
Not the only one, though.
Yeah. I mean, yes, there's also that Seymour, but Maester Mika himself. And I think a couple, I forget if it's all of them. I think there was one who does get killed at that point by it. But the fact that Spira is ruled by death and by the dead.
And I don't exactly remember why they refused to die, so to speak, but is it they're trying to end this circle of sin still? The
recollection I have is that they see themselves as the only ones with the clarity of purpose, that Spira needs them. That they know the true way, that they can't leave it in the hands of these people who don't know it.
Oh, so they're batshit crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of this, like, eternal recurrence thing of, we've revisited the idea that sin can't be permanently destroyed, only stopped for a little while. The idea of the spiral, the cycle of Spira. And in order to maintain that cycle, they feel that they need to be there because they're the only hands that they trust on that wheel to keep steering it through that loop. You kind of have Spira as this world that is kind of caught in an unchanging loop, ruled over by, almost literally, by people and ideas that died years ago.
But refused to let it go.
Yep. There's a lot of really potent metaphor in this. I'm trying not to draw too many comparisons to, for instance, how much of Congress is made up of people over 70, but I'm certainly thinking about it.
Well, now we all are.
Excellent.
I mean, this isn't ominous at all.
Oh, we got the harpsichord in there.
And this doesn't have an ominous name to the song either. I mean, it's only called Patricide. This song plays when Seymour and Master Mika discuss their plan.
Yeah. The name itself comes from one of the things that we did find in Guadosalam was that sphere with the recording, and plenty of other reasonably strong evidence that Seymour arranged for the death of his father so that he could assume control of the family of Guadosalam, of all this other stuff. Evidence that the Guado promptly destroyed, preferring to bury their faces away from the truth. We've heard that in a lot of these other ominous ones, that kind of undercurrent of the
I mean, this definitely is full of tension.
Yeah. Like almost kind of sneaky, pity-pattering footsteps. Which again adds to that kind of hidden dangers element.
And you kind of got that ethereal sound in the background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of maybe pointing out the fact that, oh, they're dead. So they don't necessarily belong there, but they are still here.
There is a wrongness to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the title alone, Patricide, these things, it's kind of this huge crime, this violation of the natural order.
But Disc 3 ends on a very different note.
Yeah. After the party has escaped from Bavel, taking refuge in Macalania Woods while figuring out their next step,
This is basically the theme of Final Fantasy X.
It's the one that got a lot of the mention in a lot of the promotional stuff as well.
It's the one that also has the professional singer on it, so the video is definitely going to be hit with a copyright claim, so as most of these are, but this is Suteki Dane. The artist singing this is Riki. And then, as I kind of alluded to earlier in the initial Macalania forest scene, this is the spot where they're actually submerged together in the spring. And this is that very poignant moment in the game.
After everything that's happened, now with Tidus being aware of the truth of their journey, with Yuna having revealed just where her true beliefs lie and how far she's willing to go for this, with the two of them having shared these beautiful moments together.
It's kind of the turning point in the game as well.
Yeah.
It goes from Summoner going on the standard pilgrimage to be the fodder, basically, to prolong this cycle that has been going on in Spira, to Yuna and her companions basically saying, fuck that, we're gonna destroy this religion.
They're not they are there for the religion, yes.
we're going to end this evil cycle, and we are going to make sure that this land that they love is going to actually be able to endure and live in peace. That,
yeah.
You know, truly.
There's a certain defiance that's happened at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They've resolved that when they do reach Xanarkand, speak to Yunalesca to learn of the final summoning, that one of the things they're going to do is to try to find out if there might be a way to end the cycle of Sin's rebirth permanently. Like, they've resolved that this is something they actually want to try for. There's a hopefulness and, again, a defiance that we hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the fact that they basically have they're basically expressing their feelings for each other as well.
And blowing a good chunk of the animation budget on it. And God, is it gorgeous.
It still stands up 20 years later. 22 years later, actually.
Really beautiful imagery in this scene. I'm also in the middle of all that, like, standing against the sting and defiance, and like this younger generation is stepping up to sweep aside. You also have these two dumb teenagers in love.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what it is. They're still stumbling over the words, and they may not be able to, like, say those exact phrases, but it's there.
It's a Final Fantasy game. What do you expect?
Teenagers are doing their best. Generally. Actually, how old is Tidus? Oh yeah, he's 17.
God, that reminds me of a terrible meme that I saw. You know, because I think
they're both 17.
Yeah, because they're both like 16, 17 years old, but then when 10-2 comes out, it's a few years later, and then they're together, and then they realize that, you know, look, Tidus, you still look the same. And then Yuna gets arrested.
I mean, there's some... Tidus's nature is weird here. Let's not worry about it too hard.
It was funny. I just thought it was, yeah.
She's the High Summoner. She gets to do what she wants. Oh God, that turned problematic fast.
Oh my.
I
That's
did
what
a
she
bad
said.
thing. I did a bad thing. The music is beautiful, though. Let's go back to that.
Yeah. Well, the music from disc 3 is now over.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit shorter, less tracks, but there's a lot more impact in these. I mean, this middle section of the game has a lot going on. I mean, there's still plenty more to come in the game itself, but I mean, we only have one more disc to go.
Yeah. Like, we still got some locations left, but a lot of the stuff we've established for, like, the revelations of these deep truths, for the otherworldly threats, all of that. Like, some of those, again, we'll be hearing again and again. So, in terms of locations and in terms of new themes and moods, there's not as much left, but there's still some good stuff remaining.
Oh, there's a lot of good stuff coming up.
But yeah, this was kind of the really big, a lot of the more climactic moments. These moments of revelation, of re-understanding the entire story.
I'm sure there was a lot of climactic moments in Macalania Spring.
Terrible.
So?
And on that lewd note...
Of course. I hope you guys are enjoying these. You know, we really have fun, you know, doing these soundtracks. The question I have at this point is, being we have one more disc to go on this game, do we want to jump into 10-2 after this, or do we want to jump into 11? Do we want to go to 12?
Oh. I mean, we're going to have a couple shows where we talk about other stuff, so I think we've got a little bit of time to get some answers from the audience, don't you?
Absolutely. So I'd like to hear what you guys have to think. Make sure to email us, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com, with your suggestions, what you would like to hear next. Otherwise, like I said, we'll probably post something out on Twitter at PHXDNRadio. We'd love to hear, you know, some of your things, or there's always the Discord. You can always jump out to our Discord channel and join us there, where we have lots of fun discussions. We talk about anything and everything, realistically. We've got food channels. We've got lore shit posting channels. We've got...
I wonder if Chai's going to post some more of those really pretty chocolates. Those were nice.
Yeah, very, very amazing crew that we have so far that join us on the server. So we'd like you to join us as well. So make sure to stop by. But I think... on that note, that is going to go ahead and do it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It helps other people find our show, and it also lets us know how we're doing. If you really dig the show, please consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, where we do this live every other Saturday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I did it backwards, but you know, you get it. You'll get access to subscriber-only emotes and badges, as well as help support the channel in that way. Or you can be like our amazing benevolent overlord, Aurora Fenrir, or our shadowy foreign investor, Tibian Salts, and go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio and support us out on Patreon. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade our equipment, and let's do some fun things like contests and giveaways. But any kind of support, whether it's emails, likes, tweets, or retweets, follows, subs, donations, whatever it is, it's all greatly appreciated, and we really enjoy interacting with you guys. If you want to check out our backlog of episodes, go out to PhoenixDownRadio.com, where you can catch up on all of the past episodes that we have out there. I really, really, really want to get back into putting some articles out there. Hey, Seyrr, it's been a while since you've done a Librarian special.
I
think the last one was the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Which, there's quite a lot there. But yeah, no, that would be fun. We should... what to talk about? Well, I can muse about that later.
Exactly. We want to try and figure out, you know, a better use of the website. It's kind of hard when you've got 2 full-time jobs going on and trying to actually put everything together there. So if you have ideas and things you'd like to see out on the website, again, let us know. We're definitely open to you know, different ideas. If you, like I said, if you have some of those ideas, like we said earlier and many times before, email us podcast@PhoenixDownRadio.com, and we will definitely read through them and discuss them, sometimes on the show even. So if you want to hear about that, like I said, send us an email or tweet at us at PHXDN Radio. Shout outs. I know you've got somebody you definitely want to shout out because something amazing happened to you this last week.
Oh yeah. So a couple. Yes. Now I see. Like, what was? Oh yes. So a couple people I want to shout out. I do want to shout out my friends Jay and Chris, who they're the ones who scored that large house and commissioned me to make those cafe walls. Really fun building those for you guys. Lots of fun little updates on there. You being really involved in the crafting process was great, and I haven't had that much fun with crafting in ages. Extra special shout out to my friend El Pescado, who gave me a couple tips on things to watch for that led to me finally scoring a PlayStation 5 last week. Even if I had to...
That is a victory.
I had to drive down to Santa Cruz for it because Target's website started being weird, and then it cleared my cart when I tried to log in, and so the one that was in my hometown went away, and I had to go like a good 40 miles to get it, but hey, I got it. I should have gotten some clam strips while I was there. What was I thinking?
Well, you know what? You can go back and have some more.
I should get clam strips, yes.
There you go.
So yes, very big shout out to El Pescado. Didn't ever expect this to happen, certainly not anytime soon with like all the supply issues. Really happy about it. Trying to figure out what to play first.
Intergrade.
Okay.
It's actually well worth it.
I can do that now.
Yes. Because you already have Final Fantasy VII Remake, right?
Yep.
So
and I think I get the free upgrade.
You get the free upgrade, so then for $20 you can upgrade to Intergrade.
Sweet.
And then moving forward, you'll be able to play the next versions on your PS5.
Yep.
Now we're gonna have to worry about getting you a 2 terabyte hard drive to install in that sucker.
Yeah. One step at a time.
Fair enough. But no,
so yes,
congrats on getting that PS5.
Yeah. So yes, big shout out, Pesca. You're great, even if you think Excitebike is a good game.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's one of my favorite tracks in Mario Kart 8, though.
So anyways, you can... it's a long-running quasi-joke, quasi-just dunking on each other. I don't think he's ever even going to hear this, so I don't know how much it matters, but you're the best, man. Be nicer to yourself. Anyways, you can find me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIVSEYRR. You can also find me on the Discord, which Klaus spent a bit of time talking about. I'm there. I like chatting with people. I'll talk with anyone. I'm so bored sometimes. And our community is so great and interesting.
It indeed is. So come join and be a part of it. I always have to shout out Seyrr. Thank you so much for being here and joining me on the podcast. It always makes it fun. Shout out to Talaz, who is off doing some TCG stuff at his friendly local neighborhood gaming store.
Support your friendly local game store.
Yes. So unfortunately, there's some issues with scheduling and conflicting with that. So that's part of the reason why he hasn't been on lately. Then he wasn't, for a while he wasn't doing 14. So we were talking a lot about 14, and I can't say that I blame him for not wanting to just sit there while we're talking about something he's not playing. Yeah.
Pretty reasonable, all in all.
So we were trying to get him back in with the music, but unfortunately, when we had to shift the podcast due to my scheduling, long-term scheduling, and unfortunately screwed up his stuff. So we'll have to figure out a way to get him back on the show soon.
We're working on it.
We are definitely working on it. His voice will be back. Fear not. We'll make sure of it. So shout out to him, definitely. It's been a while. Shout out to everybody live here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. Chili, Aurori, Nick Nar, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for the support. You guys are a lot of fun. And if you're new here, jump up and say hi. I'll throw you a shout out as well. Shout out to everybody listening out on the podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying that. But like I said, sometime join us live here so we can, so you can, dunk on us and shit talk with us and have a good time. It's actually the reason why we do it live, because it's fun to get that interaction with you guys. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Our listeners have a lot to say. It's really fun to get to hang out with them for a bit.
Absolutely. And if you want to follow me when I do post stuff out on social media, you can hit me up at phxdn_KLAUSS. So for my co-host Seyrr Tomono, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/GuiltyGearRockYou. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.